As someone who's experienced anxiety and depression, never clinically, but I had all the symptoms for it throughout high school and translating into university, and not so much past that. I did a lot of work on that. Speaking from a place of I know what it's like, you can 100% overcome this disease. Just like any disease out there, there is cures for it. Don't come at me saying cancer and stuff. We'll talk about that later. But you can get healthy. And where I think the easiest place to start with depression, obviously there's levels to this, right? I want to be very clear that I'm not some sort of guru or prophet that is going to change your life with my words, but we can at least start somewhere to getting better. There's this term out there. I actually really like this quote from Jim Carrey, and I'm going to butcher this, but you can look it up for yourself. It's like, depression is the sign that your body gives that it's sick of playing the character that it's playing. And that resonates on a spiritual level for me. Because when we're not happy, right, when we're experiencing things and life gets really hard and stuff, overcoming depression, I feel like the first step is expression, self-expression. It's learning to speak your truth. I noticed when I was depressed in high school, a lot of people wouldn't have noticed, right? Other than me getting a little bit crazy and partying on the weekends to feel good. A lot of people wouldn't have noticed. I was pretty happy. I was always trying to be kind of class clown energy. I was like keeping other people's spirits high. Like I was like positive on the outside, but feeling turmoil in the inside. I don't know if that's relatable for you, but that was my experience. And a lot of comedians actually have a lot of anxiety, and they might even be depressed, but they can put on a really good front, right? They can do that. Look at Robin Williams, for example. You know, this guy was touching a lot of people. I love that guy's movies, and it was devastating to hear that he took his own life. And, you know, that can be very thought-provoking, and you can get really present to the idea that even somebody like that could, you know, we don't know what people are going through. And so where we are limited, right, back in that day when I was feeling that way, is I was very repressed. I had no emotional regulation. I didn't know how to self-soothe. I didn't know how to healthily deal with my anger and depression and anxiety. So I repressed everything, right? I tried to fit in. I did all these things. And what I realized is the moments in my life I was happiest is when I faced myself, and despite feeling a certain way, I learned how to speak my truth. I learned how to determine my value outside of things that I have or things that I do. It took a long time, but I got there. Is self-expression, right? And what that looks like for me these days is actually putting myself out there, making videos, creating content that can help other people. I feel like I'm contributing with my work. So the antidote to depression is self-expression. I feel like with our brain, with our behavior, with our own self-tools, we can actually overcome this. Because if you look at what these depression meds are, right? If we take antidepressants, that's not the root cause. It's not a cure, right? It's managing symptoms. And I think antidepressants have a time and place. Again, there's levels to this. Luckily, I'm very fortunate that I never took those or never was in a position where I felt I needed to take those. But I could have seen how they would be a captivating, encapsulating thing that would help me, right? It was like, I want to feel better. I want to change my hormones. I want to change my physiological state. But you can do that on your own. You can do that through things like meditation. You can do things like that through speaking your truth, doing the things that you want to do to get to where you want to be. And so speaking your truth is something that one takes balls, right? Like it's not always easy, especially in today's political climate where, you know, there's all things like political correctiveness and cancel culture and stuff like that. You can physically be in danger for speaking your truth, right? You can get exiled socially. But at the end of the day, if you're speaking your truth and it feels authentic to you, then the people that exile you don't really matter. They're not really people. I found myself in certain groups where if I wasn't able to speak my truth, I was better off being alone. But I didn't see that in the moment. And so one of the things that helped me the most was getting along with people and finding friends that, one, I could feel like I could be myself around, that I feel I could authentically express, and learning to trust other people, right? Like I feel like everybody's had an experience where they trusted someone that betrayed them, right? And you can make certain meaning of that. You can say, oh, well, people are untrustworthy. I'm never going to express myself authentically or share how I really feel because it's dangerous to do so. And that was the paradigm I lived for many, many years. But if you find people that energetically align, that you feel good around, that you feel like you can open up to. For me, I actually joined a men's group in 2018 or 19 that transformed my life. You know, like I got around people that were sharing very vulnerable things. And you have this container where you can take an oath to not disclose what goes on in these men's groups because people open up about very deep and dark things, right? Like you get to really see people for who they are in a very real way. And learning to control judgment and learning to control really just judgment and just our own stuff that comes up when people share authentically is really powerful. To have a space where you can authentically express and nobody's trying to fix you, right? We can offer each other advice, but you ask, hey, are you in a position where you just want to share, or are you looking to, are you looking for help, right? And then I know that's a big thing with women, right? Sometimes women just want to express what's on their mind. They just want to express some frustration. They're not actually looking for the masculine to come in and fix their problems. They just want somebody to listen. And I feel like a lot of guys need that, but they don't feel like they need that. And they don't have circles that they can trust people in. So maybe I'll post a link in the description, but the men's group is actually online now that I joined. I'm not part of that community anymore, but it's a really helpful one. If you're struggling, instead of like a crisis line, which can be helpful, having a consistent circle where you can trust. It's called the Arca Brotherhood. It used to be called the Samurai Brotherhood. People used to think it was a cult and all that stuff. Definitely not a cult, but I could see why they'd think that from the outside looking in. Every guy that I know that went through that was in some way, shape, or form transformed because you have a space to be you. So if you're tired of playing the character that you've been playing, if you're tired of the existence that you've been living, you're doing things that you don't like. One of these things that I started incorporating a few years ago was a daily act of play. I was asked by a coach, what did you like doing when you were a kid? I love playing video games and I love playing sports. Now I don't play video games these days, but I love playing sports and that makes me feel alive, that makes me feel healthy. I have that competitive masculine drive to like want to grow and dominate. And just doing that alone, of every day playing some sort of physical activity, really, really helped. But then I found myself stooping back to a baseline that I wasn't super happy with. I'm like, well, I still don't feel good on a day-to-day basis. What needs to change? Well, I wasn't liking the work that I was doing, the business that I was in. It felt empty. And I was helping people, I was serving people, but it wasn't my soul's purpose. Like I was very limited, with the tasks and the impact that I could have. And so I wanted to work with entrepreneurs. I wanted to work with people to transform their mindset, to work with their emotions. I got a ton of experience over the last 8 years working in men's groups, learning how to hold space. And that's where I felt I came alive the most. I could actually use and channel that to help others and feel way more aligned than I was in my last business. And so look for the areas that you don't feel like yourself, where you don't feel like you can be you. And when you start chipping away at that and you say, screw it, like I'm going to live life on my terms. I'm going to live life not like in a egoic way, but in a way that feels authentic to you, of where am I playing small? Where am I not expressing? And if you can channel that and do things that you liked, it could be playing music, right? It could be acting. It could be making videos online that help people, making people laugh, right? It could be stand-up comedy. It doesn't matter. Like whatever the thing is, it doesn't matter. It's whatever feels good to you. The more you can lean into that energy, the more you're naturally going to harmonize your physiological state. And I just think people aren't doing what they're put here to do. And when you're not doing that and you know it, you feel very constricted and repressed. And when you feel repressed, that leads to depression. So the more you can lean into expression, the more you can speak your truth, the more your life is going to transform either very rapidly or gradually over time. It doesn't matter. As long as you're getting 1% better per day, as all these entrepreneurs say, which is actually a shit ton if you think about that over a year with compounding interest. Even if it's 0.01% per day, over time, if you are 20% better over a year, 30% better over a year, or 100% better in a year, think about that in the stock market. If you could get 100% better in 1 year, which is very, very, very manageable, those would be unheard of returns in the stock market. So get better, focus on what's causing you to feel unhappy, start taking the necessary steps to change it. If you want help with this, I can be a resource for you. I'll post a link in the description that has a free coaching call with me. We can dive in to see where that is. Sometimes you just need somebody to listen and ask questions to, I'm not going to solve all your problems. You're going to solve all your problems, and I'm going to be a resource for you. So hope that helps. Start living in self-expression. Start doing things that matter. And I'll see you in the next video. Zuri out. Peace.